Hey everyone, welcome to today's Program Yourself Thin podcast. Today we're talking about the real reason that you want to lose weight. You need to figure this out because wanting to look better is not going to be enough. And let's unpack that a little bit because I know you don't believe it. And if we kind of go a little bit deeper into why you want to look better, what you're going to realize is that a lot of the reason you want to lose weight is built on fantasy land. As in, if you lose weight, then I'll look better. And then the fantasy starts because this is what you've been sold your entire life. Your entire life, in very subtle and very intentional ways, marketers are speaking to you in a way that if you lose the weight, everything is going to be amazing. You will have no more stress, struggle, or worry in your life. And depending on what your particular stresses and worries in life are, that's what they're directing the message at. So if you're someone who is not in a relationship, well, as soon as you lose weight, you're going to be in an amazing relationship. You're going to have your pick of perfect partners, and it's just a matter of time. If you're struggling with money, as soon as you lose the weight, the opportunities are just going to fall out of the sky. Everything's going to be perfect. If you're struggling, with health, as soon as you lose the weight, I'm going to be healthier and I won't have to worry about this ever again. If you're struggling with confidence issues, as soon as you lose the weight, never again. You will have abundant confidence, happiness, all these wonderful emotions flowing through you. And this is all bullshit. None of this is true. And on some level, you do know this, but you need to recognize it very, very intentionally because the cause or the effect, I should say, of what happens when you think about things this way superficially, when you just accept the message you've been giving your whole life, is you're going to find that you're not really motivated. This is why you're not losing weight. At the very, very core reason why you're not losing weight is because you're not truly motivated and you think you are. And so that traps you into not realizing what the problem is and being able to fix it. But once you recognize that you're not truly motivated, and you're not truly motivated because you think you want to just look better in order to live in this fantasy land where everything's amazing. And it's not going to be. If it was, 95% of dieters that lose weight would not put it back on. If you got to your goal weight and everything was absolutely amazing and incredible, you would never put the weight back on. But it's not. The same life awaits you pretty much. So to tell you this, again, it may sound discouraging, but I hope it's not. You will still have a lot of the same struggles you're having. You may have less of them. Obviously there's a difference, between being overweight and being at your ideal weight, being obese, being at your ideal weight. There's a difference, but it's not as much as you think. And I think you need to recognize this, and you need to go deeper into the reasons you want to take control of your weight. And if we can get off of this idea that you're going to, enter into this amazing paradise and start to realize that the real paradise of losing weight happens in the moments when you make the decisions that lead to the weight loss. So when you start to realize the moments when you choose the apple over the cookies, and you say, well, I got less pleasure from the cookies. However, I got a lot more happiness from the apple. I feel better physically, mentally, emotionally from the apple. And then next thing goes on and you go to lunch and you get the pizza there or you have a salad and you say, no, the salad. And you eat the salad and you feel better. You feel more happiness. Not as much pleasure in the moment, but you get more happiness. You reflect back on it. You say, holy shit, look at me. Had a salad. I feel really good about myself physically, mentally, emotionally. You go to dinner and you eat what you eat and you say, I'm going to have another helping. And you say, you know what? I'm going to skip it today. A little less pleasure in the moment, but you tap back into the happiness and you reflect and say, hey, look at me. I had a good day today. I feel really good about myself. That's the secret. That's the gift of weight mastery, is the moment to moment reality and gifts and benefits you get from making healthier choices that make you feel happier. So it's really that pleasure happy dynamic. We agree we'll take a little less pleasure in the moment so we can have more happiness ultimately. You do this every day in all sorts of areas of your life. You'd rather sleep in and not go to work, but you give up the pleasure of sleeping in for the happiness of having the money to do what you want to do in your life. And so when you start to reflect on your weight this way, you start to realize that mastering your weight, the happiness increases that you get start instantly when you start making better choices. And this is the way you want to look at it. And when you make this one of your core reasons, when you start to realize that the quality of my life today is going to be primarily dictated by how I eat. I don't know if you believe this or not, but I promise you it's true. You go eat a bunch of bullshit all day, you're going to feel like shit, physically, mentally, and emotionally. You make a bunch of good decisions, you're going to feel lighter, happier, freer, more powerful. So the secret to living a happier life is in the decisions we make moment to moment. And when you start to make that the core reason why you want to master your weight so you can have more pleasurable happiness moments, moment to moment, going, that's when you start to get really motivated to take control of your weight and you start doing it. Because that's always the real defining factor of whether you're truly motivated or not. Your motivation reveals itself in your actions. And if you're eating a bunch of bullshit, you're motivated to eat a bunch of bullshit. If you're motivated, if you're losing weight and you're actually doing things that cause you to lose weight, then you're motivated to do those things. And it's one or the other, typically. And so the more clearly you look at that, I think the better off you'll be. So hope this helps you out. If you want more support with this way of thinking, click the link in my bio, get the hypnosis session, watch the video I made, and read the emails I send and check them out. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them, because that's what I'm here for, to try and help you out as best I can with any of your weight loss struggles. Hair in the hills. I like that. It's the mindset that needs fixed first. Yes, absolutely. Mindset needs to be fixed first. You have no chance in hell of changing your weight in any long-term capacity until you begin to change your weight. I mean, your mindset. So absolutely. And program yourself. Then we have the weight mastery pyramid: mindset, lifestyle, eating. And we always start with the mindset piece. And we do kind of start with eating because that's what people just want. So it's fine. But the real core of it is always your mindset. Your mindset is controlling your weight more than anything else. So I hope you all know that. So couldn't agree more. Hair in the hills. And that's the thing you never learn from diets, right? You never learn the mindset piece from diets. I can't even think of one diet that has any good mindset stuff with it. What's up, Kent? Kent says, Jim, your introduction today perfectly described my last 5 months on PYT. That's awesome. Yeah. Kent's killing it over here. He's in the program. And it really is. You got to understand, like, oh my God, I'm sometimes learning about this stuff is just hard. I'm reading this beauty myth book and it's so eye-opening, but it's so depressing in a way. But, I talk a lot about, in a conspiratorial nature, about the food companies and the diet companies. I don't talk a lot about the cosmetic companies, and I should, because they're right there in the thick of it. And but basically what I try to say is that we're born into this environment, in this culture, where the messages are so embedded and so constant, and they've been there the entire time now in our lives, that we almost can't even notice them. And the core message ultimately is across the board with all of these things, from diet to cosmetics to food, in really almost every area of our society, it says, focus on the pleasure. Let's get the pleasure now. And pleasure is really enjoyable because pleasure, it gives you a spike of dopamine. So it's a thrill ride. The pleasure is, right? But when we focus a life on pure pleasure, typically our happiness goes down considerably. They're kind of at odds with each other to some degree. And when you start to reorient yourself to the happiness side of it, you don't get the spikes of pleasure, but you get a steady increasing feeling of happiness. And I think when you lay it out that way, most people would choose the happiness, because you do this in most areas of your life. Again, you do this in your work, you probably do this in your relationship, right? In relationships, you're basically, when you get into a committed relationship, you're basically saying, I'm going to forego the temporary pleasures, of being with someone else for the long-term increased happiness of being with one person and building this life, and you do this in all areas of your life that are important to you. But when it comes to food, you've been so conditioned to focus on the momentary, instantaneous pleasure of the food. And I think most people know that to some degree, but what I don't think they understand is the other side of the happiness that you're giving up for that pleasure. And you are. You are. Again, don't get me wrong, you can balance it. You can absolutely have pleasure in your life and be happy, like, no doubt about it. But what I'm talking about is when you're overweight, when you get into the obese category, the momentary pleasures of eating have become your focus, and you're addicted to the momentary pleasures more than you are focused on the increased happiness of being the person you want to be, weighing what you want, living the life you want to lead. Is how I look at it. So I think I appreciate you saying that, because again, in Program Yourself Thin, that's what we're looking to do, is kind of reprogram your mind so that you think differently, so that you focus differently on these things. And it makes all the difference in the world. Yeah, and you get to start feeling the happiness on day one. Yeah, absolutely. That is the other piece too. Again, so many people, um, dieters especially, it's always that's what I'm starting to realize. Oh, this book, The Beauty Myth. Oh my God, it is just a punch in the brain gut. It is just crazy. It's so nuts. But because it's like there's been systems of control forever. As long as there's been civilization, there's been systems of control, thought control. And they've only gotten more and more sophisticated as we've progressed. And again, when you're born into them, you can't see them. It's like the old fish swims by the two young fish and goes, "Hey, how's the water?" And the young fish goes, "The what?" You just don't realize it. You're just in it. So you just don't notice it. So it is crazy. And it's all subconscious. We're subconscious creatures. Most of our behavior is out of our conscious awareness. We're not conscious, logical beings primarily, right? You'll know that. If you were primarily a conscious, logical being, you wouldn't have any issue with your weight. You know what to eat and what not to eat enough, but you're illogical. You know what to eat and what not to eat when you want to lose weight. You want to lose weight, and then you go and eat the wrong thing consistently. So how would you explain that? We're illogical creatures. And so we've been literally, that's what hypnosis is. Hypnosis is speaking to the subconscious part of your mind, which is illogical. Now it has its own logic, but it's not logic like the conscious mind, right? I can't just say to you, "Hey, you know what? Don't eat the ice cream. It's got a lot of calories in it." And then you're just like, "Oh, okay. I don't eat the ice cream." Right? Because I can tell you that, and you can know on a conscious level that's true. You know all this. This is what causes the torture in you, is that you know what you should do, why you should do it, what you want to do. But then some other part of you compels you to do the exact other thing. That other part of you is your subconscious mind, and it operates differently than your conscious mind. So hypnosis is about communicating with that subconscious part of your mind, which is in control of all your habitual thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, which is another way to say it's the part of you that's in control of your weight, amongst other things, many other things. So in order to change your behavior, I believe you need to influence your subconscious mind. And no diet is helping you do this. Diets are just telling you what to do. They're just giving you more conscious, logical information. And you could give yourself all the conscious, logical information in the world, which is what you've been doing, and it's not helping you. And so that's what I'm here every day for, to help you kind of wake up from that and realize there's a better way to do this. And it's literally the reason why you can't stop yourself from overeating shitty food, because you've been hypnotized. So people ask me, "Oh, I don't know, Jim, could I be hypnotized?" Yes, if you have a human brain in your head, you can absolutely be hypnotized, and you are hypnotized. So not you just can be, you are. You actively have been hypnotized your whole life. You're currently hypnotized. If you're watching this and you're overweight and you rely on diets, you've been hypnotized by the diet industry. If you're very overweight or obese, you've been hypnotized by the food industry. How do you explain it? You know you don't want to do it, and yet some part of you feels compelled to keep doing it. You can't describe it. You can't understand why you're doing it. I give you an explanation. You buy it or you don't. That's fine. But the diet, the idea that you're just going to force yourself to do different, it doesn't work. Do you not believe that? Anyways, Ina says Brian Johnson. Oh yeah, right. Brian Johnson said he'd quit the afternoon version of himself. I like that. That's when I usually snack. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I don't know. We do have different versions of ourselves. And if you start to look at things with a hypnotic framework, I think it's very, very insightful, very illuminating, I should say. Yeah, because we got Yeah, like the morning. Jerry Seinfeld used to say that. He goes, "There's nighttime Jerry and morning Jerry." Right? Morning Jerry's always mad at what nighttime Jerry did, but nighttime Jerry feels like a completely different person. So you all know this. Yeah, you got morning you, which doesn't eat anything or eats very little, and then you got afternoon night you, which can't stop eating. And I think it's very helpful to think of those as two versions of you. You're in two different hypnotic states. You're always in a hypnotic state. I think you're always in a trance, put it that way. Always. Unless you meditate, but you're always in a hypnotic trance of some sort. Why do you think you act the way you act? Why don't you find it odd? I find this odd. I find it odd. I've studied psychology a lot, and I've never found a good explanation for why people, just normal people, like I know abnormal psychology. I think their definitions of abnormal psychology is hilarious to me because it's real outlier extreme shit. How about just every fucking person on the planet? Why do we do things we don't want to do or not do things we want to do? Why not? And I think unless you have a hypnotic sense of how your brain works, you struggle to explain that because you're not a logical person primarily. You're an emotional person who runs on autopilot primarily. And so if that's the case, you either buy into that or you don't. But if you do buy into that, if you are primarily a subconscious, emotional, automated person that runs subconsciously on its own, if you want to change your weight, wouldn't it make more sense to influence that part that has the most influence over your weight instead of just focusing on the conscious logical part, which doesn't control your weight? That's all you've done your entire weight loss history is you keep learning more and more and more fucking information about nutrition and, the workouts and different plans. You could fill up a book with all the shit you've learned about how to lose weight. And you couldn't fill up a page about how to actually make that work long term. And that's the fucking trap. That's the trap of dieting. And I get on here every day to try to wake you up to it. Just Jade, how's it going? I think it's cool you're reading it, but what inspired you to read that book? What inspired me to read it? My daughter. She, again, probably my wife, and my daughter, my two biggest teachers in a lot of areas, but certainly what it's like to be a woman. And so we were watching some YouTube video, but anyways, they referenced the beauty myth and they referenced, and I got both of them. So the beauty myth I'm working on, the next one, I cannot wait, but it's basically, I think it's advertising in the American age, maybe. So yeah, but I'm obsessed with this stuff. I have studied for 30 years weight mastery in so many different forms. And so I find the beauty myth, I find directly, and I was right, actually, it's turning out this way, that the beauty myth, I was very intrigued by it because I'm fascinated by subconscious influence systems. So the beauty myth is really about that. And I love subconscious control mechanisms that you can't see. And I think that the beauty myth, so I said, oh, that'd be interesting. And I knew it was going to be related to diet and weight loss. And it is. And in a way I would have never known or imagined. So I'm fascinated by it. And it's to me, it's mind blowing. I don't know if it was, I'm obsessed with this stuff. So I'm not saying, I don't know. Like if you weren't obsessed with this, I don't know how much you'd like the book. I don't know. So anyways, I would think all women ought to read it, but to me, it's like, for me personally, like I strive to be a feminist. I find it fascinating. And my fascination with it really always comes back to the mind control. There's constant thought control going on, folks. I think we all know that to some degree, right? And it's just so many different forms and flavors of it. But one of the biggest ones of all is, women, how they've been treated through history. And it's fascinating. From my perspective, I'm obsessed with the mind. And so I find it interesting. So I read any kind of mind control I'm obsessed with, and I always see it through the frame of weight and health. So again, it's just one more example of that. Nora, you could fill out a book on how to lose weight, said he called me out mercilessly unprovoked. It's true though, right? I mean, everyone knows so much. I mean, I know most of you listen to like nonstop. You're thinking about weight loss. You're constantly listening to podcasts. You read a million books. There were a million magazine articles. You've put so much information in your head, but it's all just, again, you have to understand the difference between logical, conceptual knowledge and behavioral knowledge. And the clear example of it is that you have all the conceptual knowledge of how to write, you know how to write with your hand, but you only have the behavioral knowledge of how to do it with one hand. And that's what actually matters. So you have to understand, in our culture, most of us stopped learning behavioral knowledge in like 4th grade when we learned how to write. And then we just shifted right after we learned how to read and write, you basically shift into just forever conceptual knowledge where you just learn ideas. And I love learning ideas. They're great. But what really matters to your weight and to your actual life is the behavioral knowledge. And you've never really learned how to change your behavior. You're constantly told what to do. Don't get me wrong. Every single diet, every single workout, every single weight loss plan is telling you what to do. But then it's up to you. You're left alone to try and get yourself to do it. And you have no fucking clue. No clue. You've got willpower. Willpower is your one and only tool. And so you try and use that. It doesn't work and you get discouraged. But this is where the trap is. And this is literally why I'm here today. You blame yourself for it. You blame yourself because you don't know it, because you haven't learned how to do it. And so you take it on as a personal shortcoming and you beat yourself up and blame yourself for it. When in reality, the problem is that you've never learned how to do it. You have no idea how to change your mindset. You have no idea how to influence your habits. You have no idea how to actually motivate yourself. You've got no clue how to shift your self-image. You've got no idea how to handle your emotions genuinely. You have no idea how to think like a thin, healthy person. And you have no idea how to maintain it for the rest of your life on your autopilot. Not a fucking clue. Again, I could ask you those 6 things, give you a pen and paper, so go fill up. You couldn't fill up a page with it. You have no clue. Everything you know about how to do something, I got to force myself to do it. How's that working out for you, though? I already know the answer. What's up, Kelly? Kelly says, I feel a lot more integrated as a person and not as annoyed with myself since starting PYT. Yeah, that's awesome, Kelly. And I'm proud of you for that, because that's the point. And that's what we did a coaching call yesterday, and it was like, it was so amazing because the person, someone said some dipshit thing to him and they were like, it didn't even go in. I just didn't even care. And that's what I'm always trying to reinforce, certainly with all of you, but especially my clients, is that this is an inside out process. The big mistake a lot of you are making with dieting is that you think, once I lose the weight, then I'll feel all this good stuff inside. But if that was the case, then it wouldn't be 95% of people putting the weight back on. So again, where dieting says change the outside and then the inside will change, I say do the exact opposite. Change the inside. Change what you're thinking. Change what you're feeling to fucking day. Feel good today. Feel happy today. Feel relaxed and calm today. Feel confident right now today. And then when you feel better, it's easier to change the outside. Now, I know people don't believe that because, again, you literally your whole life, you're in this hypnotic chamber saying, what you look like controls what you feel like. If you want to feel good, you got to look right. It's a trap because it never ends. You never look good enough. I got some quotes. I didn't write them down. I forget them now, but they're just some quotes in that Beauty Myth book that just smacked me right between the eyes. And it's just true. It's never. And it's just so unfair for women. I mean, women, we all know this to some degree, but when it's just laid out so plainly, it is just like, holy shit. And this book was written 30 years ago. So it's crazy. But the point is that there is no there. You know what I mean? The emperor's got no clothes. You get to your goal weight, you still feel like shit about yourself when you diet. That's why 95% of people put the weight back on. Not only do they not feel better, they feel fucking worse. Because you've been conditioned, the main way you deal with your emotions is you eat. So now you're at your goal weight and now you still get the same bullshit going on in your life. I know you don't believe that, but you should. And so now you don't have the food though. I think that's why 95% of people are way back on. But it's a never ending, right? It's just, and it's extra hard for women because you never get to a point where you get to truly just feel good about yourself. It just never happens. If you're depending on the outside, what you look like. So anyways, that's why that motivation doesn't work. But what's up, John? John says, I'm incrementally getting my mindset better and better every day, but the concept of the end goal weight is still an amorphous goal. John, you are so obsessed with that end goal. It's not the end goal weight is really, don't think of it as an end goal weight. Think of it as an end goal state. If that makes sense. It's not an end goal weight. It's an end goal state. State. What do you want to experience day in and day out? Start there. So to put a point on this, I lost 50 pounds. I've been the same way for 30 years. I had one blip 12 years ago where I put 25 pounds on in a few months. And at that point, life was just bonkers. So it was just crazy, stressful, all the rest of it. So I realized 25 pounds. I don't want to be it's too heavy. And I had negative effects going on. I was like, I don't want to do this. So I brought it down 15 pounds, raised my goal weight up 10 pounds. Why? Because I'm focused on the state I'm living in. And for me to bring my goal weight all the way back down to where it was, took a lot more energy, focus, and just stuff that it wasn't the right fit for the time. So I raised my goal weight up because my goal weight is a reflection of how I want to feel. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that makes sense to you all. For me, in that moment, to relax on the weight a bit made my life better. It increased my quality of life at that time. Now things have calmed down for me. Everything, my goal weight has gone back down to where it was, but my goal weight is relevant to where I'm at in the moment and how I feel about things. So for you, John, again, the secret isn't the goal weight, because the difference, I know you guys think it's a big difference. And for some of you it is. I mean, if you're 5 feet tall, you know what I mean? 10 pounds can feel a lot different. So it's relative to each person, but it's not the weight as much as it is how you're behaving, what you're doing day in and day out, and how you feel. That should be the main focus. That's what you should focus on. And then when you dial that in, how am I behaving? How am I thinking? How am I feeling day in and day out? And you're doing that consistently and you're happy. Then you look and say, where's my weight at? When I feel this good, when I'm kind of living congruently with who I want to be and everything's flowing, where's my weight end up at? Not the other way around. For most of you, the weight does not dictate how you feel state-wise on the inside. So, hope that helps out. Kelly says, I could look like a model and still not feel comfortable in my own skin. It's an inside job for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And models a lot of times don't feel comfortable in their own skin. I know that's hard to believe, but you think about a model, it's just as cruel in a way because, imagine like, every week of your life you remember glamour shots in the mall? They used to have that, and I think they got rid of it. But imagine if you're a model and you get all these pictures of you being not even perfect, it's beyond perfect, if we want to call it that, because you're this moment in time, you're perfectly lit, you're perfectly dressed, you're perfectly made up, you're perfectly haired, and then they take the picture and then they Photoshop it even more. And so now for the rest of your life, you're never going to be as perfect as that picture. Next week, you're a week older. The next year, you're a year older. And oh no. Because when you're older, forget about it. That was one of the things she said in the Beauty Myth book. And I can't wait to share some stuff. I'm going to give it to you, and I know I'm going to mess it up a little bit, but it was the idea that, it was talking about like men and women, how we're just viewed so differently in the society. And for women, it's always like that you're perfect when you're basically a teenager. Right? That's when you're perfect. Your skin's perfect. You can eat kind of what you want, mostly you have different metabolism. That's when you're perfect. And when we look at middle age, you say, oh, well, now I'm not perfect anymore. I got wrinkles, all the rest of it. And when you look at a guy, wrinkles and all that shit is a sign of maturity. It's a sign of, what's the word? I'm blanking on the words. That's why I wish it's not as powerful when I'm kind of mumbling it up here, but it's just, it's that's, I know we all know that, like, oh yeah, I know. But it's like, no, when you internalize that, just realize that reality that especially like women are living in, what it comes to is that you basically are trapped in this situation where you can never feel good about yourself. And I share this all the time with this story. I had a person I certified as a coach. She was a competitive bodybuilder. And I remember asking her right before she goes on stage, what's it feel like? It must feel amazing. She goes, no, I just notice all the little flaws. It never ends is what I'm trying to tell you. That's why it's got to be an inside job, because you can never. That's why I try even the models. It's like, imagine that. Imagine that pressure chasing you down every day, right? That you have these perfect pictures of you that you can never even live up to anyways, which is a mind fuck. But then as you get older, oh my God, look how I used to look. Oh, look. And it's like, again, we all know this to some degree, but the value, that's why I've never studied the cosmetics industry like intensely. And it was very interesting reading this chapter on some of it. Because it's the other arm of the diet industry. And it's very interesting getting that perspective on it to me. But that's why the diet industry doesn't work. It's giving you the same bullshit messages as the cosmetic industry. There is no fucking finish line. There is no, they call it Valhalla. There is no utopia you enter into in that model. And what I want to make you clear of with Program Yourself Thin, you absolutely step into that utopia on day one. Now you step into it, but you're not really full step into it till you really kind of get it. But the idea is that we stop fucking basing how we feel inside on what we look like on the outside. And you can approach it that way and still want to lose weight and be at your healthy weight, but it's a completely different motivation. And it brings you to a completely fucking different place than basing everything on the scale and the size you are. And if you don't set it up that way, it doesn't matter what you fucking weigh, you're still going to be miserable. Do you not know that? I mean, what the fuck? You've already experienced it. How many times have you lost the weight and then put it back on? How can you explain it to me? If it was so amazing at your goal weight, then why did you put the weight back on? So again, it's not about the number on the scale. There's got to be more meaning to it. Nurse, I was about to ask today why nutritionists often say things like you need to eat more to weigh less, but now I'm questioning my question. In my defense, when it comes to motivation, I filled out 1 PYT motivation blueprint questions with 20 pages, 9 typed, 11 written, but you're right. Knowing and doing work as separate entities. Yeah. Wow, Manura. That's crazy. That's a great job. That's why I love the people in my program, because we're all overthinkers. We're all kind of type A-ish type people. And, it's so funny. Yeah. 20 pages. But again, Nura, it's funny. So Nura, I would strongly recommend, I know you're in the Circle app, right? So if you're in the Circle app, go to PYT Mastery and go watch the class replay from Tuesday if you haven't seen it yet. Because we started the motivation again and we did the first one, but I would definitely rewatch it. Because one of the key things I want to get you to is that you can write 20 pages down. I think that's a great exercise. But you want to be able to distill those 20 pages into one sentence. The most important reason I want to master my weight is because, and distill a lot of that down into the core of it. Yeah, Shireen, not the end goal weight, it's an end goal state, the new Jewism. Yeah, distinguished. Thank you, Shireen. Distinguished. Yes, that's the word. Yes, a middle-aged man is considered distinguished from his gray hair and wrinkles, and a woman is considered, past her prime, bullshit. And we know that, again, logically, we can say, I know that's bullshit, but emotionally, forget about it. You've been hypnotized. You've been conditioned. You say, oh, it's bullshit. I know how to write with both hands. Of course I can write with both hands. Oh yeah. Okay. Let me see you do it. And you can't do it. So again, there's a difference between conscious logical knowledge and behavioral emotional knowledge. Like I say, it's not fair that women are judged differently than men. Yeah, we all agree. Logically, on a logical level, but then on a subconscious emotional feeling level, women still feel like shit about themselves, and so that's just another example of it. But yeah, it's not the end goal, it's an end goal state. That's a good one, right? That's why I love doing these. You just never know. I'm gonna write that one down because I forget these. That's my problem. So I need like an editor to go through this shit and grab the good stuff. But that does help. It really isn't the goal weight. It's just the goal weight's going to be enough. I don't know. I always say the hardest part of my life professionally is that I've got all the answers, but no one believes me. That's the hardest part of my professional life. Most frustrating part. Kelly says, I love that you're reading that book and have the empathy for the double standard and BS. Yeah. Again, I my whole life, I say this, my whole journey with my weight and just personal development wise is really just being able to see ignorant, wrong, bullshit thoughts that I believed and move past them. And I'm looking forward in all areas of my life. And so I'm fascinated by that. That's why I say, like, it's it's not like I'm not like a woman's right. So if it's just like a women's rights book, I'm not as interested in that, although I am, to some degree. But it's like when it comes everything about thought control related to weight and health, I'm just obsessed with, and I have been for 30 years. And so, yeah, I look at that stuff and it's weird to see how related it is. It's weird. Julie says, I love that you said you don't control what you weigh, but I can control eating healthier, which is making me feel amazing. Oh, I'm glad, Julie. Yeah. Again, what Julie's referencing is that, really losing weight is a completely wrong term. You can't lose weight. It's a bullshit term because cause and effect. Your weight is a reflection. It's an effect, and the cause is what you eat. So you can't lose weight. You can eat differently, and then over time, through a magical process, your weight goes down. But your locus of control is the eating and living piece, not the weight loss piece. And that distinction is really, really important. All right. Yeah. Nurse says, yeah, I'll have to watch it. Yeah, I'll do it tonight. Oh, I have a one sentence sum up already. I also read the book. That sounds right up my lane. Yeah. Yeah. You'll love the book. To be honest, I think every woman on the planet should read this book. It's like, I'm not saying fixes it because it'll put you in a place, it'll bum you out. Okay. So get ready for that. I can imagine. But I think it's just like, it would be very freeing. I would think if I was a woman, I would feel very validated with a lot of the things that I felt subconsciously that I couldn't articulate in words. I think I feel very validated with a lot of the feelings I had. That's what I think. It's like, I can't recommend that book enough I swear every woman ought to read it. It's political stuff. I mean, I know some women may not like it, whatever, but you don't have to like everything, but I definitely think it's a perspective you never get. And that's valuable. Let's see here. We're TikTok. Sorry, TikTok. I've been kind of neglecting TikTok questions. If there are any, let's see. And of course, it's not easy to find the questions. You have a lot of scrolling. IK says, even when I was so thin, I always thought I was so fat. What to do about body dysmorphia? Yeah, I mean, that the body dysmorphia stuff, again, what do you do about it? I mean, you've literally been hypnotized your entire life. I mean, what do you do about it? Go to work on it. It's hard. It's hard. I think the secret is, though, I will say this. This is what I think about it. I think there's absolutely body dysmorphia. If you're a woman in America, you're absolutely suffering from it to some degree. Almost guaranteed, I would think. And so what's happening is, if you think of a scale, 2 buckets, the bucket of bullshit has been filled up to the brim your entire life. And you can look at the bucket and you say, that's a bunch of bullshit, but that doesn't fix it. Knowing something's bullshit doesn't help it because our subconscious mind doesn't understand negatives. If I tell you, don't think about a banana, don't think about a banana, don't think about a banana, what are you thinking about? You see? So this is the trap, is that we see the bucket of bullshit and we say, that's all bullshit. But the freedom, how to get past that, is to fill up the other bucket of truth. And that is the process, I believe, of how you do it. And you have to move beyond just a wait, just a look. Again, we've all been conditioned, but women especially, conditioned to measure themselves superficially, how you look. So what's driving you is this desire to look perfect, because that's where a lot of the value has come from in your life. That's what you've been conditioned to derive your value from. And so when you look at weight, you tend to look at it mostly as number, how I'm going to look, that way. That's what you've been trained to do. And all of us have, to be honest. Okay. But especially women. And so to fill up the other bucket, we need to give our goal weight more meaning. And I think if you start from the inside and start to say, who do I want to be? How do I want to live? How do I want to think? How do I want to feel? This is where you do have freedom, but you've got to fill it up. And this is the hard part, because you've never learned how to do this. And this is what we do in the program. We spend a lot of time talking about motivation and setting your goal. I know I've been saying this for a little bit, but I promise you I'm doing it, is I am going to put a training together, and I'm going to let you use Gym AI to help you determine your goal weight. And the goal weight really should be reflective of the goal state. And if you go about it this way, because right now, a symptom of this is that when you say your goal weight and I say, why do you want to weigh that? You're going to find that you stumble to explain why you want to weigh that. Whereas if I talk about my goal weight, I could talk for hours about the reasons why I want to do it. I take my weight loss and wrap it in personal development. So all the goals I have in my life, the non-physical ones, my relationships, my family, how long I want to live, the adventures I want to go on, the business I want to run, all the things I want to do in my life are the weight is weaved all in there. It's all one and the same. So I want to eat well so that I can have a successful business. I want to weigh what I want to weigh so I can have a great relationship with my family for as long as I possibly can. You know what I mean? Like there's way more meaning in my goal weight. And I think that is the solution to the body dysmorphia stuff, because body dysmorphia exists when you're primarily measuring your success or failure on what you look like, what you weigh, and the size you are. And I think when you give your weight more meaning, and it has meaning, you've got the truth on your side. What you're putting in your mouth consistently is probably the number one thing that is controlling your quality of life day in and day out. Because when you eat like shit, you feel like shit. You may not realize it, but I promise you do. You get a momentary blip of pleasure, and that usually blinds you from recognizing the long-term consequences of it that start instantly as soon as you stop eating it. When you eat some bullshit, again, you go right into the consequence phase. You start being negative to yourself. You start feeling shitty, and physically, you don't usually feel that great either, compared to when you eat something healthy and, nourishing and makes you feel good. So I think that's part of the secret, but it is a challenge. Vicky says, you're definitely a visionary, can think outside the box. Thank you. Thank you, Vicky. No tunnel vision with me. I try not to have tunnel vision. What's up, Connie? How's it going? Rockstay says, I lost 70 pounds and put it back on because the weight loss team had no support for after reaching goal. Yeah. Again, listen, folks, the weight loss industry is all about getting to your goal weight. The finish line is getting to your goal weight. That's fucking bullshit. Okay. But that's literally the entire weight loss industry, like 100% of it. And program yourself in. The goal is to live at your goal weight for the rest of your life on your autopilot. Oh my God. It's like, again, it just makes me nuts. You know how annoying it is to have the keys to the kingdom? And it's like, people just don't believe me because they're constantly, you're also hypnotized. Not the people in my program, you know what I mean? But it's like, most people are just hypnotized by the diet industry. So I can say this shit. And it's like, you're like, oh yeah. And then you just go right back to what you always do. So I suggest if you do want to take some action and actually change this, click the link in my bio and go get the hypnosis session, listen to it, and go check it out. What's up, Lori? Lori says, just wondering if you have access to listening to the coaching calls with a $500 plan. No, there's no coaching calls. Well, there's no coaching like I do Zoom calls where I coach with people one-on-one. Not I don't say one-on-one. It's a group thing, but I work with you individually. And then there's replays of those, but you don't get access to those because it's kind of personal stuff. So with the $500 plan, though, you do get access to the class with that. And so that's pretty cool. And you can ask questions there, and you get lifetime access to that, by the way. So you get lifetime access to those Tuesday classes where you can write in whatever questions you have. So again, the coaching's just an upgrade, and it's just something I wish I could just coach everyone. I mean, that's what I want to do. That's why I have Gym AI, but you do get Gym AI too for the 8 weeks that you're in the program to help you, kind of get through the blueprints and work with anytime you want. And it's nuts. I'm telling you, it's literally, you can talk to Gym AI. It's like talking to me. It's crazy. My clients use it all the time. They love it. It's really, really good. But yeah, there's no coaching calls with that one. Zoe says, what's the name of the book? The Beauty Myth by Naomi Wolf. Azra says, do you think it's best to step on the scale daily? I do. If you're looking to lose weight, I'm a big fan of stepping on the scale daily or pretty much daily. It doesn't have to be, I mean, you don't have to make it obsessive if that feels obsessive to you, but definitely not once a week. I can't even understand that point of view. Now, again, I know people say, well, I can't step on every day, but most people don't know how to run their mindsets. So if you know how to run your mindset, I think stepping on the scale regularly, it's just another data point. And I think more data points helps you get to your goal faster. That which is measured improves. So yeah, I think it's best to step on the scale daily. But I also recognize that you've got to you got to transform your mindset a bit, to do that. So Connie says, thank you so much for recording live sessions. You know me on the hamster wheel of life and being able to tune in when I can is so helpful. Yeah, Connie, and everyone in the mastery program, you get lifetime access to all that. So when I do the Tuesday calls, I'm constantly going through the program because it helps me, it helps me iterate and just make it better and better and better. Cause I'm always refining and optimizing, but it also gives you the opportunity to kind of, it feels fresher, instead of just listening to the same thing that you listen 50 times. If you listen to the same lesson taught in a new way, it's always a little different. And I think that that's very helpful for all of you that are in the program. And then if you have questions, you can hop on there and ask those questions. And in the Circle app that we're using right now, if you have comments or questions, you can make them there, and then other people will help you, and I'll get in there and answer them too. So yeah, go check those out, Connie, because that's there for you, specifically for that reason, right? Because we're all kind of busy. So, yeah, Vicky, that's a guy. We're impacted by so much BS, even when we recognize it. That's so true. That's so true. And that's the problem. Again, I think that's the big thing we need to recognize as human beings here, is that just knowing something's bullshit is not the solution. It's just the first step to finding a solution. Knowing something's bullshit is different than knowing that's bullshit and I need to do this instead. And I know how to do this. They're two different things. So recognizing something's bullshit is just the first step towards a real solution. Don says, I get on the scale almost every other day. So important. Yeah, I think it's important. I think it's valuable to get on there regularly for a bunch of reasons, which I'm not going to go through right now. But Just Jade says, decades of social influence or societal influence and pressure have decided men age well and women don't. Yep. The external has forced its way to the internal. It takes a lot on to change that internally. Agreed. I just can't agree with it more. It's not fair. It's not right. It takes a lot of work to fix it. It sucks. And I can't relate on that level to it. However, where I do see parallels, and I definitely think it's harder for women. I will say that all day long. But there's also a parallel that we all go through, men as well, which is that we're all conditioned. We're constantly conditioned to overeat shitty food at this point. And so I think women have a lot more extra stuff they got to work with and change. But we all have to do a lot of work to change the conditioning we've been dealt. It's a lot of work. Again, it feels so good to say it too, because for years, you know what I mean? Promoting Program Yourself Thin was like, oh, hypnosis is the easiest way to change. And it's like, fuck that. It is like, I can make you lose weight, just listen to hypnosis. But if you're really going to master your weight, if you're going to lose the weight and then live at your goal weight for the rest of your life, yeah, it takes effort and work. It's a challenge. So it feels good just saying that. Everything that's worthwhile takes effort and work, as far as I can tell. So this is no different. And again, the diet industry is just always trying to jerk you around with the newest shortcut, the newest hack. And so most dieters are just obsessively chasing hacks and bullshit. And it just like, if you just put the work in, it's a way easier path. Mastering your weight's a lot easier than trying to lose weight. And once you get a handle on it, it becomes easier and easier and easier. It's very easy for me now. Very easy. Like, I still put effort and work into it, but it's kind of like you got a garden, and the first year you try and garden versus the 20th year you're gardening. Right. And so it's not just that the soil's all set up, you got systems in place. It's the knowledge you got too. And so it still takes work. You still have to run the garden, but it's way easier than that first year, and you get lots more reinforcement. That first year, you're like, what the fuck? I got one cucumber, the 20 years into it, and you got all this bounty. So that's a good metaphor for how the Program Yourself Thin approach is, because it's not about the first year. I don't give a fuck how much weight you lose in 8 weeks. I couldn't give a fuck how much weight you lose in 8 weeks. I don't care. And the more, as long as you keep thinking about that, you're just going to be trapped, because you're making all your decisions based on how fast you can lose weight. And the thing you really ought to be concerned with is how long you can stay at your goal weight. That's the real goal. And once you make that shift, everything changes. Yeah, and his best metaphor you used was it being a college. Yeah. Program Yourself Thin. That is my goal. I mean, and there's no question in the world that I've modeled Program Yourself Thin as if it were a college program to master your weight. And I try and balance that with not making it too overwhelming. There is a lot of information in the program. So I always, I offer kind of like, I always think of it as kind of like, just like college. There's associate's degree, bachelor degree, graduate degree, PhD. And so there's enough material in the program if you want to get a PhD in it. And there are people in the program that do that. And they're awesome, and it's awesome watching them, because the people that stick with the program for a while and really commit to it, those calls are so crazy, because it's like you just see success after success after success after success. And it's not just weight. It's just like their whole lives. It's all the different areas of their lives improving. Because when you know how to run your mind, you can improve all the different areas of life. And again, this isn't about weight loss. It's about personal development. And one part of being the best version of you is you weigh what you want, but the framing's different. So it's not primarily about weighing what you want. It's primarily about being the person you want to be. And the weight's a piece of that. That framing makes all the difference in the world. But yeah, I think of Program Yourself Thin as a college, a weight mastery college, without question. He says, weighing daily helps me manage my weight and make adjustments. Yeah, I agree. And again, I know people have all this. Again, you can't have a diet or mindset and then use the scale every day. That's usually a recipe for disaster. But when you got a Program Yourself Thin mindset, the scale just becomes another tool. It starts to feel, again, metaphorically, the scale starts to turn into like the speedometer of your car. You're not scared about the speedometer of your car looking at it. You might be if you see lights behind you, you pass a cop, but it's like you're not scared to look at the speedometer of the car. You look at it and then you just adjust accordingly. It's not, the scale is not the problem. It's not the scale that's the problem, by the way. The scale just reveals the problem. And the real problem is you have no idea how to control your weight. And the scale just lets you know that. It makes that obvious to you. Once you have a sense of how to control your weight, the scale just becomes another data point that you use moving forward. And so I know you're out to, I can never use this. I know you can't use the scale because you don't know how to run your mind. I mean, it's not the scale. Don says, before listening to you, I was so weight loss focused, I'd say down 2, so much growth. Yeah, no, I get it. Or down 0.2. Okay, that's 0.2. Yes, I know the ounce counter's out there. There's nothing wrong with counting ounces. But yeah, no, I get it. And again, I mean, the weight, I think the number is important. It's important to me. It doesn't have to be. I work with some people who don't give a shit about the weight, the number. So we all get to choose our own path and how we want to do it. But I do think that it's never about the actual weight number. There's so much more to it that's controlling that. Yeah. Although when you refer to the scale as a data point and use the speedometer of your car analogy. Yeah, of course. Right. Because again, it's just a different way to think about it. And again, when you have a fuller mindset behind that idea, it becomes very helpful. Right. All right, I want to get out of here. Again, if you want to go deeper into this, go click the link in my bio, go get the hypnosis session, watch the video, read the emails. If you like this, I'm here Monday through Friday, usually around noon Eastern. So pop on here and ask questions if you got any. I'm happy to help you out. If you like listening to this and you miss it, it's a podcast. You can go listen to it. Program Yourself Thin. It's on all the podcast platforms, so you can go check it out. And it's there. And then, yeah, if you're really serious, go over to Program Yourself Thin and go join up the program. So, all right, everyone, have a super day, and we'll talk soon. Bye.